I turned off her breathing for 30 seconds and knew it was only the beginning. That confession would sound like the ravings of a madman, if not for everything that happened before and after. But I'm not insane. I'm just a husband, a father, a taxpayer, the kind of guy who wakes up at 6 every weekday to drive his kids to school, then heads to an office selling medical equipment. My name is Mark Davis, and what I did wasn't a crime. It was revenge. Quiet, cold, almost invisible, but absolute. It all started with something trivial, the kind of thing most American families call normal. Years of accumulated irritation, grudges disguised as jokes, and the habit of staying silent when you want to scream. Lisa and I got married 15 years ago. Back then, she laughed so hard she'd gasp for air, and I could watch her make tea for hours, even if I didn't drink it myself. We lived in a house with a garden in a Chicago suburb, had 2 kids, Jake and Sophie, and everything seemed stable. Not perfect, but stable. But stability is an illusion, especially when something inside you is rotting. The first warning sign was her habit of correcting my words. Not in front of friends, no, it was worse than that. She did it in front of the kids. "Dad, you didn't really mean that," she'd say with a smile, but her eyes were ice. "Dad's just joking. He doesn't mean it," she'd add when I tried explaining to our son why learning matters more than grades. Then, in the quiet of our bedroom, she'd say, "You're overdoing it again. You're too serious. The kids are scared of you." I never yelled. I never hit. I just disappeared inside myself. I stopped telling her about work, my thoughts, my fears. I became polite, punctual, predictable. The perfect husband on paper. But inside, emptiness. And in that void, something dark began to grow. She didn't notice, or didn't want to. It was convenient for her. She had a husband who paid the bills, drove the kids to soccer practice, and never caused scenes. What he thought didn't matter, as long as he didn't disrupt her cozy world, where she was queen and everyone else just played their part. The turning point was a neighbor's party. We were invited with other families from the neighborhood. I wore that shirt she once said looked great on me. I tried to be pleasant, crack jokes, helped with the grill. Then, when I went to the garage for another bag of charcoal, I overheard their conversation. "He's so predictable," Lisa said, her voice devoid of warmth. "Like a robot. Sometimes I wonder if he even feels anything at all. Just goes through the motions." "Well, at least he's reliable," her friend Sarah replied. "Reliable?" Lisa laughed. "That's not reliability. That's the absence of life. Sometimes I catch myself thinking, it would be easier if he just left. Or died. At least then I'd know he was capable of something." I stood in the dark, charcoal bag in hand, feeling something inside me break. Not my heart, not my soul, but something deeper. The part that trusted, that believed my life meant something to someone. I returned to the house, smiled, made small talk, helped clean up. No one noticed I'd changed, but I already was. For the first few weeks after that party, I just watched. I observed how Lisa lived her life. Morning routines, dog walks, phone calls with friends where she dissected how poor Mark ruined everything again. I listened as she told the kids, "Dad's tired today. Don't bother him." Even though I wasn't tired, I just stopped being a person to her. And that's when I began to act. Not immediately. Not violently. I knew. If I yelled, she'd paint me as unstable. If I left, she'd tell everyone I abandoned my family. No, I wanted her to feel exactly what I'd felt, to watch her perfect world crack, quietly, invisibly, but irreversibly. My first move was shifting my schedule. I started coming home 30 minutes late. Nothing criminal, just delays. But I knew she hated disrupted plans. She orchestrated her days like chess matches, and every deviation threw her off balance. At first, she asked, "What happened?" Then, "Did you forget again?" Then, "Are you doing this on purpose?" I'd answer calmly, "Sorry, the meeting ran long," and smile. Then I began accidentally misplacing her things. Her favorite lipstick in the toolbox, her recipe notebook in the car trunk, her phone in the freezer. Each time, I'd feign shock. How did it end up here? She'd search, get frustrated, angry. And I'd stand there saying, you probably put it there and forgot. She started doubting herself. For the first time in years. But that wasn't enough. I knew her weak spot, her appearance. She spent hours on skincare, monitored every wrinkle, feared aging. One morning, I accidentally turned the shower to scalding hot while she was getting ready. Steam filled the bathroom, fogged the mirror. She came out irritated. Can't you see I'm getting ready? Sorry, didn't think, I said. Just in a rush. The next day, same thing. And the next. Then I started forgetting to turn off the bedroom humidifier at night. By morning, her face was puffy, her skin pale. She'd stare into the mirror in horror. I acted like I noticed nothing. You look tired, I said casually one day. What? She snapped. Well, you've got shadows under your eyes. Maybe you should rest? I sleep 8 hours, she nearly shouted. Weird, I shrugged. She started taking diuretics, then booked appointments with a dermatologist, then an endocrinologist. Doctors found everything except the real cause. Her nerves were unraveling. And I watched, and stayed silent. The kids noticed the tension. Jake asked, Dad, are you and Mom fighting? No, son. She's just going through a rough patch. And you're supporting her? Of course, I smiled. I always support her. And it was true. I was supporting her, right into the fall. My cruelest move was what I did to her journal. She'd kept it since adolescence. Notes about feelings, dreams, fears. I knew where it was. Bottom drawer of her nightstand, under an old sweater. One night while she slept, I took it. Read every word. Every complaint about me. Every, he's so boring. He doesn't understand. Sometimes I just want to disappear from here. I didn't touch the journal. I just added one line on the last blank page. In pencil, so it looked like she'd written it in exhaustion. Sometimes I think I hate him. And if I could, I'd erase him from my life like a mistake. She found it that morning. I saw her freeze, pale, hands trembling. She reread the line again and again, as if trying to remember writing it. Then she grabbed the journal and went to the bathroom. I heard her crying, not from grief, but from fear, from the terror that even her own mind seemed to betray her. That day, for the first time in years, she didn't speak a word to me. But I didn't stop. I started accidentally missing important family events. Sophie's birthday, I claimed traffic, though I'd left early. Parent-teacher conference. Forgot. Her birthday gift was wrong. I deliberately chose the wrong one. Each time, she tried to keep face in front of the kids, but I saw the fury and helplessness growing inside her. She tried to talk. Mark, what's going on with you? Nothing. Everything's fine. You've changed. People change. It's normal. She looked for reasons. Maybe I was seeing someone? I gave her cause to suspect. Started forgetting my phone at home. Accidentally left messages from female colleagues unanswered. She checked my phone while I slept. I knew. I let her. Because the texts were innocent, just work. But her imagination did the rest. One day she said, if you want to leave, just go. But don't torture me like this. I'm not going anywhere, I replied. I'm here. Always have been. You just stopped seeing me. She didn't answer. Just walked away. And that's when I knew time for the next phase. I started altering reality. Small things first. Her favorite blanket disappeared from the living room. She searched for a week. Then it turned up in the garage, reeking of gasoline. She couldn't use it again. Then her heirloom china set vanished. I found it a month later in a toolbox. One cup cracked. She cried. I stood there saying, must have been the kids playing. Then I tampered with her digital life. Changed her calendar settings. Meeting reminders shifted by an hour. She was late. Her online course subscriptions accidentally canceled. Her emails glitched. Messages from friends never arrived. She blamed tech issues. I sat beside her saying, maybe reinstall the system? She began doubting reality, herself, her sanity. And then I did what I mentioned at the start. She suffered from mild sleep apnea, nothing dangerous, just brief pauses in breathing. Her doctor said it was normal for her age and weight. But she wore a monitor, not a machine, just a sensor logging data for analysis. One night, while she slept, I connected to the sensor via Bluetooth. It synced to her phone, and I'd long known her password. I didn't hack anything, just used developer mode, I'm tech savvy, and manually entered data. Breathing stoppage, 30 seconds. In the morning, she saw the app notification. Critical event detected. Urgent medical consultation recommended. She went pale, called the doctor, arrived in panic. The doctor reviewed the data, frowned, said it shouldn't happen, ordered urgent tests. She had CT scans, EKGs, blood work. All normal, but the data was real, recorded by her own device. Probably a device glitch, the doctor said. But could have died? She whispered. Unlikely, but better safe than sorry. She came home shaking. For the first time in a long while, she looked at me with real fear. Not anger, not irritation. Fear. Mark, she said softly. You don't have anything to do with this, do you? With what? I asked, surprised. Your health. The data in the app. Lisa, I said gently. I don't even know how it works. You set it all up yourself. She didn't believe me, but there was no proof. Still, something new appeared in her eyes. Not certainty, doubt. Doubt that she controlled her life, that her world was stable, that I was who she thought I was. It was sweet, but revenge isn't the end goal. It's a tool. I didn't want to destroy her. I wanted her to see me, truly. And one day it happened. We sat in the kitchen. The kids were asleep. She was silent, stirring her tea. I looked at her and suddenly said, have you ever thought that I feel too? That I have pain? That I can hate as well? She looked up. There was no fear, only recognition. You've been, all this time. Yes, I cut in. I've been here all along. And you did to me what I'm now doing to you. Only your weapons were words, glances, silence. Mine are quietness, chaos, and doubt. She didn't cry, didn't shout, just said, I'm sorry. And in that word was everything. Regret, fear, respect, and maybe even love, the kind buried under layers of habit and neglect. I didn't reply, just stood, washed my cup, and went to bed. The next morning, everything changed. She didn't say good morning with irritation. She came over, hugged me, and whispered, thank you for staying. I didn't know if I could trust her, but for the first time in years, I felt I could breathe freely. The revenge was over, but maybe something new had begun. Sometimes to save a family, you have to kill it for a moment so you can resurrect it anew. And I just turned off her breathing for 30 seconds. So she'd understand. Without me, she'd suffocate.